humanity will get crowded out by the machine. And I think there's nothing that we can do to stop this. The world that was painted in Brazil is our future. We will be optimized in our behavior and analyzed and, fined for when we do something wrong, like the nurse that stayed too long in the parking lot, or the story of the 75-year-old driver who crossed a red light 1.5 seconds too late because of confusion that was generated by the need to let an ambulance go past. See? Look, ambulance life-death situation potentially takes priority. In a human world, you're not going to penalise somebody for crossing a red light 1.5 seconds too late just because they were trying to make sure that the ambulance could go past. In other words, trying to look after our fellow human being. Don't you see the point here? There's a pattern. Why, when you look at the government right now and the narrative that comes out. Now, I'm not being political here so much. It's not that people who know me know I'm not really party political. In fact, I consider the Conservative Party and the Labour Party to be both extreme right wing. That might sound odd, but it's that I don't really see any difference between the two anymore. It's just like, what is the difference between the two? Can anybody explain that to me? If you can't explain the difference between the two right now. It was a bit different, when we had Corbyn as the head of the Labour Party. At that point, there was a difference, but now I can't see the difference anymore. I don't know. What is the difference? But when you look at that, you look at the narrative for things, it's funny, isn't it? Not funny at all. It's strange. It's odd how there is an attack on human values. Now, this isn't tinfoil. This is just look with your own eyes and tell me that is not the case. You've got nurses striking because they're struggling to survive. They work ridiculously long hours. They are not paid particularly well. They are suffering under the economic situation like many people are. They're struggling with that. And you could argue they're trying to actually defend what they stand for, what they work for. They're not an enemy of the health service. They're actually trying to look after it because they have to look after themselves to be able to look after others. It's not going to help, is it, if we end up with, they leave the profession. I mean, what are we going to do if they do that? We're going to sort of brand them all as traitors of some kind because they left the profession because they couldn't afford to stay in it? If you're going to make them accountable once they take the profession, then you need to be also accountable to look after them. Or just logically, if their job is to look after people, the government's job is to look after the people who look after the people. You can't sort of treat them as the problem. This is an attack on humanity itself. This is where the problem lies, and it's bigger than just the political parties because it's the continuation of a very long-term trend, the casting away of humanity and replacing it with machine or mechanisms, rules. Instead of using common sense or a human sense, right? We use the rule book, or as I recently was reflecting on, was that, the purpose of law. Law is interesting, right? Because law is rules. and rules are like programs. Rules are like machine, in the sense that you have a formalization of the way that we should behave. It is like a program. So you can see how it's more machine than, the alternative, which is just everybody getting on, with a camaraderie and a lot of common sense. Obviously, that you can't do that to an extreme either, because then there are people who want to sort of exploit that. So yeah, but that's why law was invented. In fact, the purpose of law is justice. That is what the whole purpose of law is. The law that says you shouldn't race through a red light or go through a red light under any circumstances, that is a law that's there for the purpose of justice. Right? The problem is that when this gets forgotten and instead law becomes a question of obedience, we'll make it a question of obedience. It's like you must behave like a machine. You must behave like a machine and obey the law. When you take that, then what you have is tyranny. You don't have justice. And there's a fine line between tyranny and justice. But the way that we stop ourselves from going completely into the world of tyranny, a kind of Judge Dredd universe, how we stop ourselves from getting there, which I think would probably be not a good idea, is that we hold on to our humanity. And the way we hold on to our humanity is by looking after people who look after humanity. It's really, really simple. This is all connected with the AI question. If you think I've digressed, I haven't really. Because the eagerness to grasp hold of AI and use AI to do all the things that we could do anyway, but more efficiently, is totally missing the point. It is replacing experience with a doing as quickly as possible and as easy as possible and without any dedication. If anyone can be an artist, anyone can solve a Rubik's Cube. That was one I saw on LinkedIn. It's like, what you can do is you take your, it's not really AI, it's a fairly trivial thing, I suppose. Well, there's some AI in it. Visual processing, I suppose. But you basically, an app that you take a Rubik's Cube and you show it the faces of the cube, and then it literally shows you how to solve it. As it will go there to... So this is what the activity would be. It's like, I feel like solving a Rubik's Cube. Okay, put this on there, put on the app. The app shows you turn this one and then turn that one, and then you're just doing what it shows you, and you solve the cube. And you say, hey, I solved the cube. That's not the point, is it? That's not a proper existence. If you're looking at this philosophically, where did it come from? And a clue to it probably comes from Alan Watts again. I do refer to Alan Watts a lot because these brilliant ideas, and one particular idea was to do with the model of the universe. So what happened was that the universe was viewed in the Judeo-Christian sort of view of the world. It's a construct. It's like there was a God, and the God created the universe. Now, it's funny how I got to like 50 years of age and I had never known this, but in actual fact, in other cultures, it's different. So the basis of Hinduism is that the universe is a drama. So that's actually, in a way, it's saying it's all virtual. which is a very interesting idea. I mean, in essence, there was some kind of thing that could think that was a kind of entity like a god or whatever you want to call it. They have a name. Was it the Atman or I don't know? But the point is that it got bored because it could just do anything, right? So what it was, it tried to lose itself. And so this is a big simulation in which God is lost him or itself or whatever, and it's playing a game of hide and seek, on itself. And I like this, I like that, because that's an alternative view, and you can build your culture that way. And the Chinese view the universe as an organism, which I think is also very interesting. Organisms are not constructed by anything. They're not built. They grow. But we, unfortunately, and it's sort of unfortunate because if there is going to be something that destroys the world, it's definitely not going to be the Hindu view, is not going to destroy the world. And the Chinese view, or traditional one, is not going to destroy the world. You just say it's an organism and it grows. Yes, we're not trying to sort of domineer it. We're not going to try and, tame it. But we're from the culture. We're from the one that views the universe as a construct. Well, at least religiously, right, was viewed as a construct. But then science sort of shifted that. So what we had is a shift from that to the new model, which science brought in, which is, to get rid of God completely. It was like it was embarrassing to have God looking at you all the time. It's kind of intolerable. So they got rid of God and said, we live in a dumb universe. So it's not that, the whole universe is just a kind of machine, really, and we're part of that. And we killed God and replaced God with a machine.